A little over a year ago, no one had even heard of the Grenadier. Now everyone in the off-road world is talking about it, and one thing has become very clear. As potential drivers, users, owners of this extraordinary 4x4, you are hungry for engineering and design detail. Well, no problem. Welcome back to Building the Grenadier. For this episode, we've invited some serious off-roaders to take an exclusive first look at a very special Grenadier prototype, chassis 001. All right, fellas, I want you to take a look at something.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
I know you want to get underneath.
Look at that, it's absolutely.
I've always been a lover of what I call the iconic 4x4s, and this to me is an iconic 4x4 for sure.
The size, the way it's laid out, the position of the engine, everything I've looked at so far, it's going to be a workhorse. Can't wait to get hold of one.
That's nice. I love this.
For a split door like this, there's a really brilliant wide opening area to load and offload really heavy kit. I can imagine putting a pallet in there with oil in for the machines, no problem at all. Good departure angles, actually good approach angles as well, but it's quite a wide bumper, but I like that because you can accept winches as well. Check them out then.
Check them out.
Splendid.
I tell you what, it's going to be very hard to drag these guys away, but they can take as long as they like, because the whole point of today is to hear what they think whilst the Grenadier is still a work in progress. Now, I know it doesn't look like it is from the outside, but on the inside, it's very clear that there are still a lot of engineering and design decisions to be made, although the interior itself is nearly finished and I should be able to show you it in a few weeks' time. But the wait is over when it comes to the wheels and tyres. Following a rigorous research and development programme, INEOS engineers chose 17-inch steel wheels as the standard setup. But as you know, there's loads more prototype testing underway, so that choice can't be confirmed just yet. INEOS has clearly never made a tyre, never made a wheel before, so how did you go about developing what is a unique bespoke package for this vehicle?
So we started the selection process more than a year ago with some tests on our first prototypes, and after the evaluation of these tests we nominated Bridgestone as a capable but also a very willing supplier.
The Grenadier will come with tailor-made Bridgestone tyres as standard. INEOS believes Bridgestone is the perfect tyre partner. The company has nearly a century of experience, plus the necessary global network to support a 4x4 built for the world's most remote places. So tyre options, there will be, for people who want something more aggressive, there will be an option for a BF Goodrich tyre. The standard tyre is the one that you, Andy, at Bridgestone are developing, which is this. Now this is a demo tyre.
Yep.
It's because you walk on and go, it's a little bit small, but it demonstrates actually the tread pattern. So you're saying that you've got a tyre you've already developed, it's been proven, it's been tested,
Absolutely.
but you're then kind of up-speccing it specifically for the Grenadier.
Absolutely. So we've changed the compound initially so that it's got better off-road performance, particularly in the snow, and also we've changed the construction slightly to make it more tuned, and this particularly helps with the steering in laden and fully laden conditions with the trailer.
Lots of people, when buying cars, there's kind of perception, isn't there, that standard means second best. That's not the case here, is it?
Absolutely not, no. So we've worked really hard with the Grenadier team to make sure that what is offered to the standard fitment is absolutely what is required for the vast majority of people running the Grenadier. So the package that we've put together with the wheel and the tyre is suitable, it's snowflake marked, so it performs as well in the snow as it does in the mud, and it is great on-road capability as well.
So let's just focus on the rims. From a materials point of view, is the reason you've gone for steel as the standard as obvious as you might expect, that it's incredibly robust and you can beat it with a hammer if you bend it?
It has to be robust, for a car, but also durable. and steel wheels will be perfect for for use in winter and also for hard road conditions.
From a sizing point of view, you've gone for 17-inch and 18-inch diameter rims. Why not 16?
In terms of brakes, we had to respect a specific package to perform as expected, and clearly the 16 didn't fit, for our brake system. So that's why we didn't go through 16 inches.
Wheel options will be larger 18-inch steels or unique alloys in both sizes, all fitted with the Bridgestone tyres. All right, what's been your kind of general feeling?
It's just like ticking boxes: good engine, reliability, tech, automatic gearbox, reliability, tech, transmission, it's all there, all the axles, the way the body's built, put together, the big doors at the back, it's all there.
You see it on all the social media posts, the previous videos, you've seen all of that, we've all watched them, but actually to come here and see it and to measure it up against what we were expecting.
It's very much a very exciting project, and I can't wait to see this thing out on the road.
When you're trying to make a vehicle like this, the ultimate off-roader that's going to be used in incredibly varied conditions, in the automotive world, that's a hell of a thing to try and create a vehicle that's capable of doing all that. Do you get the sense this is a compromise?
No.
No.
This is the vehicle you want for the next 20 years. You're just trying to make your vehicle as reliable as it is, because there's nothing else out there at the moment to, replace it.
We keep utilising older and older vehicles because there's nothing there that I feel can replace what I've got at the moment. And then coming to have a look at this, it's looking pretty good, to be honest.
It's nice that standard is on steels though.
Car manufacturers constantly are pushing alloys to you. Steel wheel's fantastic, it does what it says on the tin. That's what a lot of people are going to want out of this.
Yeah. How many of you have bashed out a bent steel wheel with a big hammer?
Yeah, a few times. Sitting there with a sledgehammer and smashing it back on, putting it back straight. Oh yeah, it's a little bit buckled. I'll be all right, blow it up, and off you go again.
But it works, doesn't it?
It works every time.
And it gets you home.
Exactly, no, always get you home.
Listen guys, a huge thank you from all of us. There'll be more chances to get involved in the future, so keep an eye out, and it could be you. That's it for now. Join me for the next episode of Building the Grenadier. So things are really ramping up now. In this episode, I want to take you behind the scenes of the new prototype production line in Austria, and a first look inside the factory where your Grenadier will be built. After more than a year testing early development vehicles, they call the 2As, the Grenadier project has reached a major milestone. INEOS Automotive's engineering partner in Austria is now building a fleet of much more advanced next-generation prototypes. You guessed it, the 2Bs. Hans-Peter Pessler is the engineer in charge.
We have around about 250 engineers working on this project, so everybody is pushing forward very hard because it's a big challenge.
You've got loads of experience in the automotive industry, building cars for all kinds of big companies. What have been the real challenges that Grenadier's thrown at you?
The first challenge was to understand what INEOS wants to have, so to get their ideas into the paper, into the sketches, into the computer, and then finally into this car. We are very happy that we have these 2A vehicles right now, and the next big phase is the 2B.
And how many?
Around about, let's say, 80 plus.
Welcome to the Grenadier's first small-scale production line. It's been created not just to build the limited run of new prototypes, but also to test and perfect every stage of the process, from start to finish. Experience gained here is helping the team plan the path to mass production. Each Grenadier is built from around 350 individual panels. A complex 3D jigsaw held together by glue and weld. The doors and closures are aluminium. The rest of the body is galvanised steel. The shells are protected with 4 coats of paint applied in a 7-stage process. Most will be white, black or silver. A few will have contrasting roofs. All the chassis are powder-coated white to help detect cracks during testing. Axles and powertrains are supplied pre-assembled. The majority left-hand drive. It takes just over a month to build each prototype from scratch, but there are 8 vehicles in build at any one time. When they leave here, these 2B prototypes will be put through extensive safety and performance testing. Some are destined for high-tech automotive science laboratories. Others will be shipped around the world to see if nature can break them. Lessons will be learned, of course, and the Grenadier will continue to evolve over the coming months. Yes, it definitely looks the part. Now the engineers must prove it can get the job done. Now, as you may know, INEOS Automotive has bought a manufacturing site in Hambach, and it will be the home of the Grenadier. So I thought you might like to take a closer look. It's a massive facility, one of the most advanced vehicle assembly plants anywhere in the world, thanks to the 500 million euros invested in it by Mercedes-Benz. Packed with state-of-the-art technology, it comes with a highly skilled team, all trained to Mercedes' exacting standards. The fully fitted factory just needs repurposing and reprogramming to build Grenadiers. And this is the man getting the job done. Obviously, Eric, there's been a lot of discussion about where Grenadier's factory will be. Why did you end up in Hambach?
We looked at several sites throughout Europe, and then this was a unique opportunity where Mercedes had a change of strategy that coincided with us looking for a plant. And the blessing here was that Mercedes has actually designed this plant for full-size SUVs.
So very much a commercial opportunity then that you simply couldn't turn down?
It's not only commercial, I would say, it's a whole package. It's production cost, but it's also quality and capacity.
So what have you actually got to do to get the facility ready for Grenadier?
You can say that you have maybe 3 categories of work that needs to be done there. We have some cells where we just need to change some fixtures, need to reprogram the robots and so on. And we have some cells that needs to be rearranged. These are modular cells, so maybe some robot needs to be moved from one place to another. And then you have the 3rd category where we actually tear the whole cell down, and then what we do is we rebuild it. And all of that is done in the body shop here behind me.
In terms of quality control, what are you doing to make sure that Grenadier is fit for purpose and is going to be built to the reliability and quality standards that we as customers will expect?
We have a very advanced, well-equipped quality department here with very experienced former Mercedes quality people. And the focus is really based on the workstation to make sure that before a vehicle goes from one zone to the next zone, that the people that are actually working in that zone ensures that the quality is correct. They don't pass on bad quality to the next station. We have 4 levels of quality at the station itself, at the end of that particular line before shipping out, and then we also have the audit process.
So from where you're sitting right now, what are the big challenges coming up?
So the next step is you build the 2Bs, which are not kind of production intent material. Just to make sure that the vehicle goes together, you learn how to build the vehicle from that. Then what we do is we go into the next phase, and that's when we start to build prototypes using the actual production process. Then what you do is you ramp up the production then up until the speed that you want to run it.
Listen, Eric, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So the most advanced Grenadiers yet are now rolling off the prototype assembly line. And having taken over the existing high-tech factory in Hambach, INEOS engineers can now focus on refining the build process for mass production. So some very big developments. See you next time. Rugged, robust and reliable. That's what we want and that's what we've been promised. So how are the INEOS engineers ensuring they deliver? Welcome back to Building the Grenadier. Well, the answer is an unrelenting obsession with testing. And that's the destiny of around 100 latest generation prototypes, the 2Bs, that are being built by Magna in Austria. Some are already being evaluated in super high-tech laboratory workshops, others shipped around the world to be punished in some of the most extreme environments on Earth. So I'm going to catch up with Head of Engineering Oliver Schlipf to find out how the Grenadier is shaping up in the real world. Oliver, talk to me about 2B testing.
Our main purpose of the beginning of the testing was really to validate our concept. You can develop something on the board and on the computer, but you really see for the first time when you're sitting in the vehicle, when you're crashing the vehicles, does it really come everything together like planned, like simulated? We are really satisfied with the results from our hardware testing till now. They're very close to our simulations, and that is always a good sign, because that is the starting point for further developments and for further improvements.
The first part of the 2B testing program has already been completed successfully. In Sweden, drivetrain and safety systems have been evaluated in sub-zero conditions on snow and ice. In the Alps, the Grenadier has been put through its paces at high altitude. In terms of the whole package of field testing, the figure that's always been in my head is this 1.8 million kilometres of testing. Is that on track?
At the moment, so all the testing is ongoing. We have a plan with the vehicles. They're running those kilometers, I would say, on-road and off-road. We have 1.8 million as a final goal. We will ride more than 300,000 off-road kilometers out of that. Probably we are 20 to 25% through at the moment. Right now we started our rough road durability testing. We have our water tightness program, a corrosion protection program, and then we continue with our winter testing behind us, preparing now summer testing, preparing high-speed testing, and looking forward to the remaining program of the 2B vehicles.
Give me a sense of geographically where testing is going on.
We're testing in more than 15 countries at the moment. We choose the countries with the most challenging environments. We will test in Austria, Germany, Italy, Spain, South Africa, Namibia, Sweden, Iceland, United States.
Has there been any learning from the testing, Oliver, that's fed back into the engineering and development teams that's actually made a difference to what customers will end up getting?
Yeah, absolutely. If we talked about very good results in the crash tests, we are able to improve the behavior of the airbags. That is feeding back to our engineers, and they keep on improving on those topics. We found out pretty at the beginning of our 2B program with our chassis tuning vehicles. In regards of drivability and stability, we will adjust a little our axle geometry. That is going on through all the vehicle, starting with the chassis, going through body in white, testing of interior, and everything is done to improve the maturity of the vehicle when we go into our serial production and at the end in the customer's hands.
The balance between on-road and off-road, there's always the concern, surely there has to be a compromise somewhere. It can't be brilliant in both places.
We have a promise to build one of the best off-road vehicles in the world, but we are also aware that probably the vehicle will see more more kilometers on road than off road with our customers. So we need to make sure that you have a very good on-road performance, and for sure we keep our promise to have a fantastic off-road performance.
So Oliver, are you on schedule?
So we have some delays, no major delays, but with everything going on in the last 12 months we have some delays. But it was clear in our organization we will not compromise on testing. So we have our testing program and we will go through all the testing program without taking shortcuts. We will stick to the plan to deliver our product to our customers.
I understand that Jim Ratcliffe got to drive the 2B for the first time, and a really important milestone in the project because ultimately he has to sign it off. How did it go?
We met him in Graz, took him with us to the famous Schöckel mountain to really do the rough road testing together with him. He was happy with the performance of the vehicle. Sure, we have some work to do to improve on some topics, to improve maturity of the overall vehicle. But he was pretty happy. I would say he's not just our most important customer, he's also challenging the program a lot. He knows what he's talking about, and we will deliver.
So it's going to be a busy few months for the prototype fleet, and not just testing. One of the 2Bs will be supporting the INEOS Grenadiers cycling team as its official reconnaissance vehicle through this season's racing campaign. And you'll have a chance to get inside another one yourself at a global roadshow. More details coming soon. There's a lot going on. The wait is over. Today is the day. You're about to see the inside of the Grenadier. So it's a big day. How are you feeling?
Yeah, excited. Pleased to be able to show everybody what we've been beavering away at for the last few years.
A lot of people have wanted to see the interior for months and months and months. Is it a really intense design process doing the inside?
It is intense, but also, because it's such a tactile thing, that we're going to sit in there, we're going to spend time in there. We wanted to be really confident that it was right.
So where did you kind of start in terms of positioning the interior between, at the one end, in the 4x4 world, you've got the unbelievably uncomfortable, almost military agricultural end of the market that many of us are familiar with, and the other end you've got these incredibly overly luxurious, ridiculously overspec'd 4x4 SUVs. Where in the middle are you?
Both ends of the scale have merit. To have something very, very simple, easy to maintain, very sort of analog and logical was really our sort of starting point. But equally, the other extreme other end, why shouldn't you be really comfortable, and why shouldn't you actually be warm? I feel like we've found a new sort of spot really in between those. Hopefully we've got a really good balance in the middle.
It must be nice though to be able to take the dogs for a walk and not have people shouting across the field, "Oi Toby, when are we going to get to see the inside?"
Yeah, that hasn't stopped.
I've got to say, first thing, you have completely nailed these seats, haven't you?
Yeah. Are you comfortable?
This is... I'm not used to this level of comfort in my 4x4, let me tell you. I mean, they're really, really nice seats.
Some people are going to spend an awful lot of time in here. This is their office. So, why wouldn't you at least be comfortable and warm and dry? Which was always our kind of mantra from the start, really.
Again, it is its own, it's unique. You do not see this kind of switchgear, overhead panel. This is different.
Having the central stack means that everybody can be engaged in the whole process of driving and the journey.
Inevitably big screen,
Yeah.
but what's it for? Given, I mean, this vehicle has far less in the way of electronic control systems.
Yeah,
And
I mean, you can choose what goes on there to a degree. That you've got all your sort of performance that's going on there, but then you've got all your sort of entertainment stuff through there. You've also got all your off-roading.
so would this interface include sat-nav and all that kind of stuff, or are you basically moving towards a world which says we all carry the computers around with us all the time
Yeah,
as a phone?
exactly, absolutely correct. And you know, our thinking was that by the time this had actually come to production, that whatever sat-nav we'd put in there would probably be out of date. You know, it moves so quickly, and yet we're all walking around with really powerful computers in our pockets all the time. So let's utilise that.
And is that generally in the interior? I'm thinking about things like, you know, seat adjustment and all the rest of it. Have you tried wherever possible to get rid of electronics? Because that's been one of the big
100%.
big arguments, isn't it,
Yeah.
about the users, is saying, please, 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 do not make this vehicle overly complicated,
Yeah.
unnecessarily complicated.
For sure, and yeah, so in the seats we have no motors. We have this novel thing called a lever to operate the seats, to go forward and back and up and down, and make all the adjustments. Because sure, you know, we could have put motors in there, but it's just an added complication. And then if we are going to hose this vehicle out, last thing we want is water flying around electric motors. So up to the wading depth, you know, everything's waterproof.
And just picking up on that point, you can actually wash out the footwell.
Yeah, so there's plugs in the floor that you can remove to drain it out. So.
Ideally, what I'd like is a vehicle which you can hose down outside and inside. You know, the farmer got in, and when he got out, he could hose it down and wash it out, and you know, that's what we'd like to do with the new one.
And so just going back to the switchgear, how have you divided it all up in terms of, so what do these different panels do?
Okay, so we've got all the sort of air conditioning, we've got basically the sort of the comfort, if you like, in here. So it's your window heaters and essentially the sort of things that keep you warm, but parking assist and eco sort of cut off thing for the engine. But then all the off-road gear then is kept separately, so we're not searching as we're driving along going, I really need to turn off the diff. Where are they? Oh, that's the air conditioning gone. You know, it's kind of broken down into very separate areas.
And so obviously conventional place for high low range, automatic gearbox controls in there. What's this?
This lovely touch screen that we have. Obviously that's not going to work if you're wearing wet, thick gloves. So you've always got the sort of the manual option on the top, so you can then do everything you can on the screen. You can use on the central rotary knob as well.
And the switchgear, this is chunky stuff.
Yeah.
It's so big hands, gloves on, you can still operate all this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh God, I love the fact that it makes that noise.
There is something quite cool about kind of engaging all your switches, and in your head you're flying an aeroplane or driving a ship, or there's just something a bit more kind of fun about it, I guess.
This is, I think, is just a brilliant idea. It's well executed for lots of functional reasons, and aesthetically, it definitely ticks boxes from my point of view. It just looks great. It looks as if it means business, and it does. So it's not fake from that point of view.
No, there's always a thing that it had to be authentic. We didn't want anything that was sort of frivolous or arbitrary. Everything has a reason and a function, and if it didn't, then it didn't really make the cut. So just having all these auxiliary switches already wired in, so that if you do decide you want to go and put on extra driving lamps or camping gear or winches, then you're not kind of ripping headlinings down that you'll never get back in quite the same way that it came down in the first place, or you're drilling holes. It's all kind of there, ready to go. It's literally just sort of hook up the wires and off we go.
Talking of customising the interior to your own needs, the steering wheel's an interesting thing, isn't it?
We really like the idea that it kind of grows with you a little bit, and actually this is made of really beautiful saddle leather that will kind of mature with time. It will grow and it will gain a patina that becomes very sort of personal to the people that are driving it all the time. So that kind of actually is a living element of the vehicle as well. We can do that because we're a new automotive company. We're not governed by years of people telling us that that's what they want. We can sort of take a punt and say, well, look, we think this is a really nice, engaging element. It feels really nice. It feels like real leather.
The red toot button with a bicycle on it. Not seen that on a car before.
No, it's amazing, isn't it?
What is it?
Often when you're kind of approaching a cyclist, if you want to make them aware that you're there, you often try to do a sort of a gentle kind of hoot, and it ends up as a full-blown klaxon which scares the living daylights out of everybody. Or you're seeing a friend or something, but you never quite get it right because you're hitting the middle of the wheel and it ends up as comes out as an aggressive sort of thing.
And no push to start button?
No, we've got a traditional key.
A proper key?
A proper key.
How many sheep can you get in the back?
Well, lengthwise, you can only get one in, but three.
Three, good, excellent. Overall, I tell you, the big thing, you get a real sense of the amount of thought that's gone into this, but also the number of things you've had to think about.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost as much as the exterior, I think. We've been really kind of brutal in drilling down into what you really need, what you don't really need. It's a pretty close match to some of the earlier sort of first thoughts, really. So, yeah, very, very pleased.
So was the wait worth it? Well, I'm sure you'll let Grenadier know, but if you already like it so much you want one, well, good news. I've just heard you'll be able to reserve one from October. See you next time. We know what it looks like and we're excited by how it's being engineered, but what is it like to drive? Welcome back to Building the Grenadier. I've come to check out the Grenadier Prototype Tour. It's a global series of experience events that gives the likes of you and me the chance to get up close and personal with the Grenadier almost a year before it goes on sale, and that's incredibly unusual in the motor industry. But INEOS Automotive says that being so open now, whilst the vehicle's still in development, is absolutely critical to it delivering the kind of off-road utility vehicle that customers around the world are crying out for. It's slightly surreal, Mark, being inside a moving Grenadier. What amazes me is that the fact that only 3 years ago this was a blank sheet of paper. I've said it a million times, but to get it to this level in this amount of time and to produce something that's as good as this. I mean, it's not perfect yet. There's things that have got to change still, but that's the whole point. It's still in development. But even at this stage, this is remarkable.
It's almost there, and with the opportunity of some fine tuning, this vehicle is gold standard, to be honest. This gearbox is totally seamless. It will change gear much more accurately than a human being, to be honest. However, if there was enthusiasts and they like to use the gears and they want to, override the gear, well, you can do that as well. You can Tiptronic it and then tell the gearbox what to do. So it has the best of both worlds. If you look at the future terrain, we've got quite a steep descent coming up. I can literally just drop it into first gear on the Tiptronic.
So we're in first, low, centre diff-lock.
Yeah, and
foot off everything?
Off the brakes, foot off everything, and that's got perfect vehicle control. And that is gold standard as far as I'm concerned. And even with weight, so I've been testing this vehicle with 4 adults in here and kit in the back, the vehicle will still maintain composure on a descent like that. There is a hill descent control on this for when you're in higher range.
Right.
So if you was in higher range, you could use a hill HDC button, which gives you that automatic braking from the descent.
So how have you found the power delivery then? Because obviously a lot of effort went into recalibrating the engine specifically for Grenadier.
It produces a huge amount of torque, and torque is everything in an off-road world. You don't want the power of a Bugatti Veyron, you want the torque of a tractor when you're in an off-road environment. The way it delivers the drive, it's just totally seamless. And the engine and gearbox are proven units, so they've been around a long time. And to elect this motor with this gearbox, this ZF gearbox, is a marriage in heaven. So it just works perfectly off-road. It just feels really planted and secure.
Which as a driver is a great feeling, isn't it? That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always excited when I jump into this.
That's brilliant.
I test a lot of vehicles for the military, and I've done it with the fire service and police and whatever. And in terms of off-road, yeah, I've been exposed to quite a lot of different platforms, and I was extremely excited when I drove this for the first time.
Back at base camp, I catch up with Amy Taylor to find out more about the prototype tour. What an amazing location to find as well, because it gives so much diversity in the terrain that you can drive the Grenadier over.
Yeah, and that's what we want. We want to be able to show the capability of the vehicle. Although it's in its prototype stage, we can, you know, take it off-road, do dynamic routes and show people what they've got to look forward to.
What's the feedback been from, because you've been running these for a while now, so what's the general feedback been?
Yeah, feedback has been amazing so far. Just being a passenger, they can kind of see how it performs with a professional driving it. The opportunity to see the prototype at this stage, I think, is a really exclusive experience.
Folk have been able to see, you know, the interior reveal, the exterior reveal, all that's been online in the films we've made and everything. But I mean, this is the first time people have actually been able to get in a vehicle and with it driven. What's their reaction been when they've got out?
I mean, the reactions have been amazing. To actually see it in the flesh and then get to be a passenger. As a passenger and having a test ride, it's been great, but they really do want that test drive. And so that'll be the next stage where we actually invite people to drive it.
So it's not just the UK, this is very much a global tour.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've started in the UK and Germany, and we'll be going through the rest of Europe, also Sub-Saharan Africa, Australia, the Middle East and the US.
Having been driven around in the Grenadier as a passenger, it's now my turn to get behind the wheel of this extraordinary prototype. Tell you what, it was impressive there, but I'm looking at your face and going, it's going to be even more impressive here, isn't it? Nice driving position, isn't it?
Yeah.
The fact that you haven't got a big console in front of you, great forward view.
Yeah, in terms of off-road, you need to be able to have a clear view of the future terrain, and that's really important.
Feels completely effortless.
Yeah.
Feels like you're gliding.
It does, yeah.
Honestly,
yeah,
it feels.
it does,
almost, I know the better description. It feels almost like you're a hovercraft.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
You're almost floating over it. It's incredible.
Yeah.
What a joy to drive.
Yeah. All the components work really well together, you know, and the beam axles, that's a simple system, but the way that it's been tuned by Magnus Steyr just gives a beautiful ride. So with all those components together, you just got a really smooth platform, and that's important.
The engineers have done an extraordinary job, haven't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Everything feels as if it's properly engineered.
In terms of these road shows, we've had exposure with professional users, enthusiasts, lifestyle, all people that use four-wheel drives in different forms and different ways. But what you're getting is all that information from a huge range, a huge sector of people, and it's really important information.
I tell you, the really strange thing is that I sort of having to stop and go, I'm actually driving a Grenadier. I've seen so many images and pictures and all the reveals of the interior, the exterior, the underneath, the rolling chassis. Actually to be driving
a working example,
It's amazing. At the end of a brilliant day, I catch up with some of the invited guests to hear their first impressions of the Grenadier off-road. So you all got back in one piece and smiling. So that's good. I hope it was the Grenadier and not the fact that we're offering you a burger. What did you think about actually going out in the Grenadier for a drive?
Very smooth. Yeah, that was my first impression. I don't think I've been in a vehicle as smooth as that for many years.
The way in which it both handled the train, also the comfort that went with that, went hand in hand. And, you know, in a sense, you shouldn't get both of those things, but somehow with the Grenadier you do. Which was a pleasant surprise and really exceptional and great to see. So it was a delight, it really was.
The most impressive thing for me was the quietness, because normally we shout at each other, especially if we're in the back. Can you speak up? You know, you can hardly listen to the radio, and in that it was just so quiet. I was really, really impressed.
How smooth it was going down the country lanes. It'd be great for us every day. I'm up and down farm drives most days, and some of them are terrible. When you're on a bumpy track all day, it gets a bit tiresome.
The ride quality on both, if you went to a short gravel track, and going quite fast, and it was quite very composed under acceleration. And over the sort of undulating ground, when you apply the power, you didn't get any sort of axle tramping or bouncing or shuddering through the axles. Really, really smooth.
You know, I just think they've really got it right, the way they've set it up. It was so smooth, you know, you could hardly hear it, and the power, it was just great. I just can't wait to get behind the wheel and have a go myself.
It's great, let me tell you. You know, it's a pretty brave move to give these Grenadier prototypes such a public outing at this early stage. But I also think it's a very smart move, because as potential customers, people like us are being given the opportunity to be a real part of the Grenadier story. INEOS Automotive is making us feel as if we own a bit of this extraordinary off-roader way before we can actually buy a whole one. And I think that's really clever. See you next time.